Welcome to episode 158 of the Own Your Genius podcast, where we empower business owners to use their education and their experiences to create dope businesses. I'm your host, attorney LaKanya Murray. Listen, over the last, 6 or 7 years, the number of business owners who are registering their trademarks has increased dramatically. And I love that. You know, the trademark attorney in me is just like, yes. So, and one of the goals at Off the Mark, which is my intellectual property law firm, one of our goals is to make sure that we get through the application and registration process as quickly and as accurately as possible. But there are some mistakes that people make on the front end, oftentimes, that makes that challenging. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to address 7 common mistakes and how to avoid them. But before we dive into today's episode, make sure you are subscribed to the Own Your Genius podcast so you don't miss any insights on how to own your genius. Welcome back to the Own Your Genius podcast, where we discuss building businesses, growing brands, and what else? Owning your genius. I'm your host, attorney LaKanya Murray, owner of Off the Mark IP Solutions. Off the Mark is a boutique intellectual property firm representing innovative entrepreneurs, aka geniuses, who are looking to protect their brand and grow their business with ongoing legal support and business mentorship. We have a good one for you today, so let's get started. So shout out and thank you to everyone who just took time to subscribe to the podcast. I really appreciate you. So now let's jump into these mistakes, right? I would say the first mistake that people make is not doing a trademark clearance search. So doing an inadequate trademark clearance search. So when you don't do an accurate trademark clearance search in the beginning, that can cause delays once your application is submitted and is being reviewed by an examining attorney. It can cause legal disputes. It can cause rejection of your application if they find that the trademark that you're attempting to register is already registered, something similar or even the same is registered, or even if the examining attorney doesn't see any issues. If someone who has a common law right to that trademark, or someone who even has a registered trademark and says, hey, you know what? I don't think USPTO got it right. I believe there's likelihood of confusion, or my trademark will be harmed if this continues to registration. So make sure that you do a thorough, comprehensive trademark clearance search in the beginning. That can help with some of those delays. And that's something that we do here at Off the Mark. The other thing that people do that cause delays is they choose the wrong trademark class. So when I talk about class, I'm talking about identification. Your trademark protection is limited to how you use it. So when you complete the application, we need to know how you're using that trademark or how you intend to use that trademark. And keep in mind that what you tell us is what we're going to apply for. And if you change your mind later on, there's going to be an issue. So that's why you need to stay in constant communication with your attorney, especially as your brand grows and evolves, to make sure that your protection is still valid, or see if you need to get another sort of, but choosing the wrong identification always slows your application down. It can even lead to rejection because you're not able to do number 3, which is use the trademark in commerce. So another issue that we see that's really common is that, especially for people who are filing intent to use applications, and actually it's not even the people that are using intent to use applications, because you have those people, and then you have people who choose the wrong classification. And what happens is you're not able to show that you're using your trademark in commerce, because remember, you cannot have a registered trademark unless your trademark identifies the source of a good or service in commerce. It's not enough for it to be pending or launching soon, or anything of that nature. People have to be able to partake in whatever good or service that this mark is identifying. And if not, then you can't get your registration. And that's where a lot of people get hung up. So make sure that if you're going to register your trademark, if you're going to apply for a trademark, that you're either, one, using it in commerce already, or that you're making real plans to use it in the future. And know that if you do have real plans to use it in the future, you will not get your trademark registration until you are actually using it in commerce. So keep that in mind. That's number 3. That's a common mistake that people make. When they're registering their trademark, or attempting to get through that application process. It's not having a trademark that's distinctive enough. Because remember, your trademark has to be unique to you and to your industry so that when people see you in the market, they can say, hey, I know that brand. That brand does X, Y, and Z, and they have the reputation of doing that really well, right? You want to make sure that you stand out in the marketplace. So if you are using words that are really industry specific, or if you're using trends or anything of that nature in order to, or even descriptive words, or using descriptive words, if you're using things like that to make your trademark, you're going to have a hard time registering it because it does not act as a source indicator for the good or service that you are providing. So make sure that you have a really distinctive and unique trademark that you're registering. And keep in mind that your brand name does not have to do the job of informing people of what you do. That's what marketing and branding is for. Okay. Anyway, failing to monitor the status of your application. So it's great. You got the trademark clearance search done. You have your application prepared and filed, and then you just go ghost, right? You want to make sure that during this application phase that you are constantly monitoring your trademark for people who are trying to register something that's same or similar, so you can be on top of that. And that's one of the services that we provide at Off the Mark IP Solutions. When you use our services, that we actually monitor your trademark during that registration period to make sure there are no conflicting marks that are trying to get through before we do or while we're doing it. You want to stop any type of infringement before it happens. Now, what if, infringement does happen? Not enforcing your trademark, and this is after. This can be both. This can be during the registration application period and also after, because if we're monitoring your trademark and you see that there's a similar trademark coming through the pipeline and you choose to do nothing, you choose to ignore it, you choose to fail to enforce your rights, now you are weakening position. You're weakening your trademark position because remember, you want something that's unique and distinctive in the market. If you're letting other people use your same or similar trademark, then you're weakening that and you're defeating the whole purpose of having that trademark. Final thing that I would say that people get wrong during this whole trademark application registration process is they use the wrong TM symbol. So you have TM, you have SM, and you have the R with the circle on it. So TM stands for trademark, and that trademark does not have to be registered. It lets people know that you have a common law interest in this mark, and that TM is for goods, right? So these are trademarks that represents goods. So if your good is water, you would use a TM. The SM stands for service mark. So if you have an unregistered mark and you're using it and you're going through this process, you can use SM. So for instance, Off the Mark, we have, when we're going through the process, we would use SM. But now because we are registered, we move on to that R with the circle on it. So make sure that you're using the trademark symbols correctly as you're going through this process. And I will say again, I'm so excited for everyone who is finding the value and protecting their brand, that they know that they have invested and they are investing not only time but money in order to grow their business, because they want something that's going to last not just for today but for tomorrow, and it's going to provide wealth for not only their children but also their children's children. And so they're taking the time and making the investment to protect their trademark. I'm absolutely thrilled about that. What I want you to make sure you do is just avoid some of these common mistakes, and hopefully the tips and the information that I shared today will help you do that. So geniuses, thank you so much for tuning in. Tell me, what were your takeaways? Let me know in the comments your top 2 takeaways from this week's episode. And if you found this episode insightful, make sure you share it with your fellow entrepreneurs. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Let's take this conversation over to the MARKEDlegal community. I want you to share this episode with 3 people and have them meet you there. But you know what to do before you go. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and rate the podcast. Until next week, I want you to keep building your business, growing your brand, and owning your genius.